What's up, people? Welcome to Mrs. Murica Levine's explanation of the vocabulary for the criminal case, the state of Washington versus Dale Reynolds. So just like I did for the mock trial case in the civil arena, I'm going to explain each of the vocabulary words that you are supposed to define in your own words and then use in a sentence as it pertains to the case Washington versus Reynolds. The first judicial branch term that comes up in the case Washington versus Reynolds is imminent danger. Imminent danger means that someone believes that they are in danger of their life imminently, which means at any second. So right now, we're kind of all in this position, right? Like, where is the Rona? If I touch this shelf over here, is it going to have the Rona on it and I'm going to get it? If I go to Tony's and get a box of cereal, is there Corona on the box of cereal? Like, I'm in an imminent threat of coronavirus everywhere I go. So imminent means immediately dangerous. One of the things that the defense is arguing in this case is that Dale was under the impression that he was always in imminent danger of his life, that he didn't know when his stepdad was going to fly off the handle and threaten him or threaten his mom or his sister. So he felt like he was in imminent or always could be any second danger of his life. The next legal term in this case is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And you've probably heard this one before. It comes up in crime shows all the time. The prosecution, the people who are bringing the case, it's their job to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that whoever they're charging with doing something did something. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt. That means that the jury should be so sure, so absolutely sure that this thing happened, that there isn't a shred of doubt in their minds, that it's so crystal clear that they couldn't possibly be persuaded to think, oh, maybe there's a chance that that's not how it went, or maybe there's a slight chance that this guy is innocent, but hey, he looks guilty, so we're just going to find him guilty. That's not how it works in the legal world. The prosecution has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that there is guilt. Prosecution, this is by review. Prosecution is the state or the county that's bringing the case. They're always the ones that are trying to prove something happened or prove responsibility. They are prosecuting the person or group of people who are being accused of a crime. Intent. Now, this is one of those things that we all know the meaning of the word intent, right? Like, what did she mean by that? What did she intend when she said that to her mom or whatever? But in a legal sense, intent is what we're always trying to focus on. What did the person intend? And in Dale's case, we have two competing theories. The prosecution is saying that Dale intended to murder his stepfather. The defense is saying that Dale intended to defend himself from imminent danger caused by his stepfather. What was the true intent? That's what the jury has to decide. Premeditation, this is also by way of review. A premeditated murder is one where the act was thought out, planned out ahead of time. Before, meditated, to be thought through. Premeditated. Add that to the word intentional, and you have premeditated intentional murder. Now notice how that word intent is kind of in there, right? Premeditated, it was thought of beforehand. Intentional, it was intended to happen. So somebody thought about it, planned it out, intended for it to happen, and then carried it through. Premeditated, intentional would be first-degree murder. One of the things a jury has to do is think about the perceptions of the people who are involved in a case. And in this case, that is Dale. What did Dale perceive about the level of danger he was experiencing? And that can be hard because we all have our own opinions, we have our own assumptions about how something went down. But as a jury member, you have to put yourself in the shoes of another person. How did this person perceive, think about, believe what was going on around them? If Dale perceived that he was in imminent danger of his life, that at any moment his stepfather could, kill him or cause serious bodily harm, then that's going to make an impact on the case. If Dale perceived that he was not in threat and that he was just going to take this as an opportunity to take his stepdad out, then that's altogether different. But to be in the United States government, the way that the law is set up is to protect the innocent. We would rather have a guilty person go free than an innocent person go to jail for something that they didn't do. So the burden of proof is always on the United States government, like the county or the state, whoever's bringing the case. The burden of proof is always on the prosecution to prove that something happened. It's not on the defense. The defense doesn't have to prove anything. They can make an argument for themselves, but it's the United States government's job to provide evidence that something happened. The last set of vocabulary words for this case are complementary, relevant and irrelevant. It's up to the jury, and they are going to be persuaded by the prosecution and the defense to try to figure out what facts that are being brought to them are either relevant or irrelevant. So in the case of Washington versus Reynolds, for example, Jan Martinez said that Dale Reynolds showed her a gun. But then we find out from Officer Nicholas that the gun that was actually used in the crime was a different one than he showed Jan Martinez. Is that relevant or not? Now, often on both sides, lawyers will bring information that really is irrelevant, but they're trying to make a kind of a bigger case that this person is a bad person, or in the case of the defense, that this person is a really good person. Like, look, we're going to hear from Grandma Millie, who said that Dale baked her banana bread, once a month and sent her a handmade letter. Is that relevant to the case, or is that irrelevant? The jury has to make those decisions.